Let's start with the tariffs. Stock markets obviously took a big dip after Liberation Day on April the 2nd. You've got everybody now as a tariff expert too, by the way. I don't know if you noticed this online. You have all these tariff experts. And so if you scroll down, below their last 10 posts of where they're playing Mr. and Mrs. Economist, and you go down the scroll and you say, oh, look at, they're just a political partisan hack. Okay. So most of the economists, when you dig into a lot of economists, there's some really good ones out there. They're far and few between. It's like a college professor. You might bump into mistakenly a good one once in a while, but there's a lot of theorizing hacks. Same thing with economists. They've never built anything. They don't run businesses. They just sit there and pretend and play business. It's like fantasy football. Dude, you're not really running a football team. You're not really running a business. You're an economist. You haven't done it. And when you scroll through some of these economists that are talking tariff talk like they're experts, like we have so much history on what happens with tariffs. It's like 100 something years
It was
ago.
like 1930, like last time we had a lot of tariffs.
You scroll down, you realize they're a political partisan hack on both sides of the aisle. The ones that say tariffs are just going to completely change the entire global trade and it's going to happen very beautifully and bigly and all this kind of stuff. You say, oh, okay, these guys are, just playing their game. And then you say, you see the other ones, tariffs are going to destroy, human life as we know it. We're probably all going to, have to crawl into a cave here sooner or later because the world is coming to an end. You realize what side of the aisle they're on. Ultimately, nobody knows. Okay. What we do know is this past week has been great for rates. It has been so good for the 10-year and interest rates. And quite frankly, that's what I care about. I know my dad's upset as a boomer because his stock portfolio is getting crushed. But I said, are you selling this year? No. Are you selling next year? No, but I might want to pull some money out in a few years. Okay. Well, why don't you just buy some more stocks right now? Like, in a few years, this stock portfolio might be worse than today because I don't know what's going to happen in a few years. Nobody does. And so I get it. People like to see their stocks just do nothing but go up every single day. That's not reality. This isn't financial advice, but I think it's buying season for stocks. I'm buying. I know I've got a longer term play than most people, but for housing, for the thing that really can jumpstart a local economy, every time a house is transacted, a loan officer like Brian, 6 out of 10 times is involved. Seven and a half times last year is involved. You have a appraiser who is going to have some work there. You've got a handyman. You've got a cleaning crew. You've got a landscaper. You've got an attorney. You've got all of these different businesses that feed off of a real estate transaction. The administration right now wants to see rates go down. If Jerome Powell's not going to play ball, the ball they're playing is this tariff ball, and it's working. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, said, we are watching the 10-year every day. That's what he said. We're looking at it every day. We want that to go down. We want long-term rates to go down. We want real estate to, get a jump. The other thing they want to refi this $9 trillion at the end of the year on lower rates, not on higher rates. Scott Bessent, for everybody gets triggered politically around these tariffs, lifelong Democrat. And he's pushing for lower rates. He's obviously the Treasury Secretary and pushing back in these tariffs. But Brian, break it down for us. Why are rates going down right now with all the tariff activity?
Sure. So tariffs was the big news. We also had the jobs report came out on Friday, which comes out on the first Friday of the month. Usually jobs report, huge impact on mortgage rates. This week, not so much. Tariffs outweighed it big time. So, there was a lot of tariffs. Even if you didn't see the whole thing, I think many of you seen the image of just Donald Trump standing up there with his board with a list of tariffs. One of the largest implementations of tariffs that we've seen in recent history. And, a lot of people are concerned about that. The concerns are that could slow down the economy, that could increase the cost of goods. It's a tax on imports. So, if you run a Mexican restaurant and you sell a lot of guacamole and Mexican beer and stuff like that, you may need to increase prices. You may not buy a new piece of equipment. You may not hire a new employee because you have to absorb these costs. You don't have to pass them on to the consumer. And so all this creates uncertainty. It creates concern about the economy. And, generally, if you're an economist or investing in the stock market, that's bad news. But if you're thinking about buying a home this year, it's actually kind of a silver lining is that bad news about the economy or concern or uncertainty generally good for mortgage rates. And that's what we saw this week. The average 30-year fix, according to Mortgage News Daily, hit the lowest level that it's been at since October of 2024, ending the week right around 6.63, according to Mortgage News Daily. Now, we did have a little bit lower period in September. We got all the way down to 6.11 was the lowest it's been the last 12 months. And it didn't last long. It was about 3 or 4 weeks in September. And then, the inflation concerns came up. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity if you're thinking about buying, you're thinking about refinancing. It may last for the long term. It might not. There's definitely several things that could happen that could cause rates to go back up. Uh,
Yeah,
should I keep going here? You
no,
want
I
to
mean,
interject?
nobody knows what's going to happen with rates. Just like absolutely nobody knows what is going to happen with tariffs. So the people that are on TV telling you that they know with certainty what's going to happen with tariffs, they weren't even alive the last time we had tariffs. They're lying to you. They don't know. Nobody knows. But what we do know is today, this weekend, shopping for home buyers, they've got the advantage finally with a little bit of a lower rate, and a rate, by the way, that's at like 6-month lows right now. So